Well, probably the word that was most commonly used at Chick-fil-A to describe what we did is counterintuitive. We love the word counterintuitive, which means it's the opposite of your intuition. And the Bible talks a lot about the difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is what we know, and many times the Bible doesn't talk favorably about that. The Bible talks favorably about being wise. And it talks about the fact that the beginning of wisdom is humility. And what I used to think about is we created a culture, most business cultures, Reggie, are all about how much you know. You know, you're the smartest person in the room, and you know, the one who knows the most wins, and it creates a culture of prove yourself to other people. But wisdom that begins with humility creates a culture of improve yourself. And so we focused a lot on improving, not proving. And when we had to improve things, we had to start with maybe we don't know it all. So I want to share with you, there's so many examples I can point where I had it wrong many times, we had it wrong, but one of the ones that really stands out in my mind was back in about 2007 or 8. The United States was in a huge economic crisis. And during that time, Truett Cathy came up with the idea that we were going to move forward on an initiative that everybody thought was crazy. He called it second mile service. You know, that we wanted to provide good service in the first mile is kind of giving what people expect, but in the second mile was giving what people don't expect. And you have to understand the context of this. All of the people we competed against, what everyone else was doing, was retreating from service because they're trying to cut back and save money because it's the economic crisis. Truett wanted to spend millions of dollars to advance our level of service. And so just from a pure knowledge standpoint, you know, what most people in the organization thought is you're crazy. No one comes to a fast food restaurant for service. If they wanted service, they'd go to a white tablecloth restaurant, right? Or a fast food. No one comes to fast food. By definition, we're not about service. They want food fast, right? And in fact, there was a political candidate one time who said, "Is the economy stupid?" A common expression within Chick-fil-A was, "It's the food, stupid." They're coming to Chick-fil-A for the food, not the service. So nobody thought this was a very smart idea because we all knew better, right? But not Truett. So we spent millions of dollars in the context of this economic downturn to train the entire chain on second mile service, giving people service they wouldn't expect from a fast food restaurant.
That's good.
You know what happened since that time? If you were graphing Chick-fil-A's growth, we've always had sales that were more than the year before, but since that time it's like this.
Wow.
And now we're more known for our service than we are our food.
One more thing before we go and take a break. You also, these are children's pastors and student pastors, you've also learned a couple of things about how to understand families in the context of your organization. And I think there's a couple of stories, or just give us one story that kind of gives us some insight into why we need to make children and students and kids and families matter and what that looks like.
Probably the classic example that comes to my mind is we used to have kiddie parties all the time because McDonald's had a huge advertising budget to go after kids and families, and we had precisely zero advertising budget for that. So, and all of our competitors would have 99-cent kids meals. So we thought, hey, if they've got 99-cent kids meals, what do we need to do? We need to have a 99-cent kids meal. So one day we realized that our mission, as we thought about it, Chick-fil-A, was to improve the story for those we do business with.
Oh, wow.
And one day we sat down with an operator and said, if we want to improve the stories of the people we do business with, is a 99-cent kids meal the best idea we got? And fortunately, I was meeting with an operator at Kansas City at the time. And somebody from Kansas City, all right. Yeah. Olathe, Kansas, actually. So, yeah. And he said, you know, David, he said, I love to go on daddy-daughter date nights with my daughter. He had 3 daughters. And he said, what about if I did a daddy-daughter date night at Chick-fil-A? And I thought, well, first of all, I thought, if I'm totally transparent, and I said, I get paid big bucks to come up with ideas like this. How did I miss that one? But he came up with that idea, and so he decided to execute this daddy-daughter date night. And it was incredible what that has done for the business. He decided to take reservations for that night, because because he had to cordon off part of the restaurant, had an opportunity for 700 reservations that night. He put it on his website 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, checked it at 5 o'clock Friday afternoon, completely full with a waiting list started. Now, ladies in the audience, who was really signing up for Daddy-Daughter Date Night? Yeah. Dad came home that night, found out he was going to Daddy-Daughter Date Night in 2 weeks. But here's where it really got interesting is he really thought it through because he was using wisdom instead of knowledge. And he got with a nonprofit in the area, probably somebody like Orange. And he said, okay, well, I'm about to do this Daddy-Daughter Date Night. Tell me what could go wrong. And they said, well, when an average dad sits down with their young, picture elementary, middle school daughter, he said, there's something that's about to not happen that begins with a C. Ladies, can you help us what that would be? A conversation. Exactly. So what he did is he created a placemat with thoughtful questions for the dad to ask the daughter and left the space to record the answer so they could prove to mom that actually had a conversation. And he did the same thing for the daughter. Questions to ask the dad. Now think about that. I've got 3 kids, as you know. I've got notes when they were in elementary school, middle school. You know what I consider that in their own handwriting, with their own thoughts? You know what I consider those? Priceless. Priceless. As any of you would.
Yep.
Now compare that to a 99-cent kids meal.
Wow.
And yet at that time, we thought 99 cents was as good as it got. You know, and you could prove it. You know, you could go run all the numbers and prove how great those were. But this guy improved it to a level he created something priceless in the life of a father and a daughter. And now we do those, as you know, all over the country.
That's amazing.
And who, you know, it just doesn't make sense. A fast food restaurant would be doing Daddy-Daughter Date Night. Sounds more than something the church could do.
And it is a question that drove everything you did. I don't want us to lose this before we leave and come back. How do I improve the stories of those I serve?
Yes.
That question.
Yes.
What a powerful question.
And the same thing as a parent.
Yeah.
How do I improve the story?
And I will say this publicly, and I don't apologize for it at all. Sometimes I feel like Chick-fil-A and the leaders there have been asking questions the church should have been asking a lot sooner. So I want to thank you for kind of leading the way, helping us understand some principles, and walk away with that message. And we'll see you back here at 3:45. Bob?